or inches of overlap turn into boat lengths of leak, right? So, with that said, like trying to find your way into the procession up here at the top mark is a kind of difficult thing to do cleanly. Because as, there are plenty of lanes available when the fleet's splitting out into the corners of the triangle. As the fleet compresses, the lanes evaporate. You're talking about congregating 15 boats in a progressively narrower space. Right? Now, we have to there are very few hard and fast rules that you can give somebody for how to pick a lane, how to manage this stuff. The best thing you can do is kind of talk about the principles and understand the constraints of the problem, where the pluses and the minuses are. Remember, we're going to talk about that a little bit. The first thing has to do, again, with physics, which is to understand exactly how bad a problem traffic is. Here's a dock. It's floating out in the middle of the water. This is 4 420s tied to a 6-inch high dock, and they're drawing air. They're sailing, but they're not moving it. Here's 4 420s, and they're moving. Where's the worst hit? Behind the dock or behind the windows? Who said dock? Who said why? Let's assume they're sailing a 45-degree angle with the sails are drawn here. Okay, so let's go. Who said the guys are moving?
I just thought that was going to trigger itself.
That's actually correct. But it's not the way I think. Right? If you measure the airflow here, let's say that we got 11 knots. This is empirically proven of airflow on the upwind side of, let's call it the vents, the fleet, right? In the downwind, in the wake of these sails, because these boats are extracting energy from the wind to propel themselves forward, just by conservation of energy, it has to be significantly less flow on the back end of this. So I don't know, I'm gonna estimate, I've seen the numbers on this, it's in Ross Garrett's book. They're called 85 knots. These guys, air is flowing around, but the airflow itself is not being disturbed by the creation of that low pressure region which is sucking from the cold. You don't have that kind of dynamic. Just by virtue of the fact that these guys are not able to go anywhere, you got it tied up. There's like 10 knots or so of flow. It's the reason why everybody thinks that it's bad. That the three words that make this instantaneously make sense is conservation mode. There's tension being produced on the line here. That in and of itself is not the same energy expenditure as propelling this boat forward this place in water. There's more energy extraction going on this side line than the other. Alright, the reason why I make this point is because people think that, think about like the downwind side of buildings and stuff and like stationary obstructions as regions of bad air. The thing about sailboats as regions of bad air, the difference in terms of how disruptive these things are is significant. Which is to say that the fleet creates a disaster of effective wall behind. That's the severity of the problem. What's more interesting for us for the purposes of the top end of the fleet is where the problem extends to. We talk about bad air and wind shadows. Most coaches will draw this in and they'll be like, yeah, this is this boat's wind shadow. Do we sail in the true wind? We sail in the apparent wind. How many of you guys have ever been stacked to leeward of a boat in here and managed to survive for hundreds of yards? Been like right up underneath somebody. Let's put it this way. I'm going to give you a clearer example. Let's say that these two boats are even. How many of you guys have, let's say that this guy is a little bit further back. Do you feel legit, if you're this guy, if you're the leeward boat, this is the windward, are you legitimately afraid of getting rolled here? Just based on your own experience. Is this a problem? You're behind, but where's your air coming from? Is your air coming from here? Yours coming from much further forward, because you're not sailing on the apparent wind, you're not sailing the true wind, you're sailing the apparent wind. Let's flip that on its face. Let's say you're now the windward boat. You get a little more worried? Yeah, because the apparent wind is much further forward. And the disturbance that's coming off of this guy's sails, the form of turbulence, can't influence this. The apparent wind shadow comes off, right? Not only straight behind, but projecting slightly to the windward. So kind of understanding where the available air is here is very important. The reason why is because windows of opportunity present themselves and evaporate like this at the top of the market.
So you said that wind shadows don't look way you drop away.
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever played Sailors before?
No.
No, man, have you?
What?
Sailors? It's like an online set. Oh, we got the picture as well. Yeah.
Maybe it's a little more like that. Okay? I can survive here. You know? I can hang out, I can sail in the lane underneath that boat. You don't have to be even with what I can survive easily. Right? As we get towards the top of the mark, I'll give you a situation. This guy's coming on the layline. And we're here. This guy's clearly in front. See that? This guy's obviously crossing. But inside of this space, in these kind of crucial 3 boat lengths, we've got a decision to make. We can either tack here and survive underneath him, avoiding his apparent wind shadow. Would be in his true wind shadow were he not moving, were we both not moving. But we can survive here, below his apparent wind shadow, and make the trek into the mark. If we don't tack by this last breakwater moment, we put ourselves in his bad air, and we commit ourselves to going past and finding clean air on the other side. Do you guys see that? You surviving, Taylor? Alright. Why do I mention this?
Well, if you do the first option, wouldn't you be lower than the mark than you were?
You're exactly right.
Don't you still have to do the second option eventually?
Yeah, you still have to tag them down.
Yeah, but here's my question to you. Okay? This is where we're going next. Now, everybody understands that this is going to be apparent wind shadows and true wind shadows, right? Having a very good working knowledge as to where people's bad air actually is the number one thing in terms of finding your lanes. I have managed to save races, I'm serious about this, by staying underneath people instead of consolidating my position. This is where we're heading next. This is the next bullet point on my little outline. This is the next constraint that we have got to understand in order to be able to handle the top speed level. The ley lines are a fucking prison. They're a disaster. I'm just gonna illustrate the point, right? We're here, and we're here. Sorry, and our competition is here. This is us, this is the competition. And right now, we're even. This guy's not in our bad air, obviously, he can kind of bow out, right? He's sucking clean air, right? If we get headed, what happens? Yeah, but who's winning? Are you? You're on the layline. You're on the
I think
closet.
it depends on the degree of the shows.
If you get headed 5 degrees here, and let's say that this is 25 boat lengths, 30 boat lengths, I don't know, whatever, it's long. Say this is 5 degrees.
Well, not for that, I mean, boat length-wise, he's winning.
Yeah?
But in the end, he won't be able to tack if you're still
You
there.
think so?
Unless you get a more shift, yes.
Hold on a second, guys.
With that many boat lengths, you can pitch them all.
Oh, that's the point. When that 5 degree wind shift came in, he didn't just gain one quarter boat length. He gained a quarter boat length, and you're now in his bad area. So you're on the conveyor belt going nowhere pretty quick. And the header you lose. Okay, how about this? Let's say we're still even, we get lifted. Who wins? No, you don't. He's now on the lay line. You're on, when you get to the lay line, you have consolidated your position. You are not going to go up or down on this. It's secure insofar as you have starboard advantage and you've got your line in the recession, but you have completely and totally robbed yourself of any opportunity to advance on subsequent strategic developments east of the ships, or bust. The other thing that it does is because you know everybody's going to be congregating in here and the port end of the fleet is coming in and they're eventually going to be tapping here, getting to the ley line early makes it a high probability that you're going to be staring at somebody's stern for a larger percentage of the time coming in. Because if somebody tacks on you, you've got no options. You can't get out. You're only sailing distance that you didn't need to sail, period. You try to tack out and clear your air. And if overstanding the mark. So the point is this. The ley lines, to some extent, are safe territory because you're at least rounding the mark and you're protected by starboard advantage. My general point is I try to get to them late. If you're getting out there early, you're banging corners. Let's say that this is kind of like the extent of the course. Here's our starting line. I do not want to be this dude. Even if it's a massive permanent right shift, I try to go back just a little bit before, because I feel safer. If the ship keeps going right, at least I haven't overstood. If the ship goes left, at least I haven't leveraged myself even further out. Because the ley line is a lose-lose situation. I call it ass gazing. Like where you're lined up, you're oogling the other boat's stern. That really sucks. Right? The reason why it sucks, remember how we got back to kind of this notion of where our bad air is? Everyone looks so tired tonight. So much more tired than usual. Where's the worst air in this guy's triangle? I think it's right behind him. First of all, everybody. So the overriding points to me are these. Understand exactly what the bad area is so you do not end up overshooting your opportunity to get back into the forward lane. Number two, understand exactly what the ley line is. A lot of people, what's up?
Well, when you drew his wind shadow, you drew the lines, like, is he avoids his bad area
I think it's because it's physically the worst place to be in terms of turbulence, but beyond that, it's also yeah, you're probably putting yourself in more. I mean, it depends where you're on the course, obviously, right? Yeah.
So you really never want to be following something else like
Got it. What's going on?
I think we're seeing.
Yeah.
I go back to port.
Susie, anybody got questions about that? Okay. The last thing I'll say is this. I mean, like, if you think about Andy Gordon did this massive article in Sailing World about kind of like he had time zones like 2 minutes out, 1 minute out, etc. Very risky place to be is on the port tackling line. Again, just going to start with advantage, right? Because you really don't have any route. If you're coming back in, if you go back into the top of the triangle or trying to find a slot here, even if an opportunity doesn't present itself, if you're coming in below here, you have more options in terms of time. If you find yourself coming in here and there is a procession of boats that is very long, man, it reaches back on the whole ton of storms. Versus dealing with this while the rest of the fleet is still kind of finding their place. Because the boats that are here, they were not quite on the layline yet when you came in. You understand what I'm saying? Like they haven't, less boats have found a place in the line if you're approaching right at the top of that. It's just an easy way to kind of mitigate against that. Everybody talks about things get more and more risky the further you come in from the left with regard to that starboard attack recession. There's a time to acknowledge when staying below the ley line and being on the ley line with the starboard attack advantage, like the risk calculus first. That's it. Like I said, there are very few hard and fast rules about this, but again, I think if you understand exactly what the ley lines are, where you gain and lose on leverage, just tactically with regard to shifts and puffs, and if you understand where that is.
So even if there was a large shift there, you still wouldn't go.
I try to be the first boat out there. I definitely, if I know there's a large ship coming from the right in the bottom half of this triangle, and the fleet's splitting into the corners, I'm trying to be this guy. I'm trying to be coming out here. What I'm trying not to be, I'm trying to attack before I get right at that boat. Because let's say that it's huge, that's great. Let's say that it's huger than you think it's going to be. If you tack here, you may find yourself, as this thing continues to clock, reaching the mark. See what I mean? Like, give yourself just a little buffer, even if you're leading. Then depends on how long.
And then that just leads into strategy when you leave out the other boats, right?
So,
This just leads into strategy when you.
yeah. Especially in FJs, and especially when it's light, because I think you lose less stacking in an FJ. So you know, if you're going below the ley line, you're committing yourself to 2 more tacks. You're good at tacking, that's not that big of a deal, but you do get to save yourself a little bit of what I consider significant risk. Again, there's the common theme that practice makes risk happen. Anybody else got a question? I'm gonna let you guys go. You guys think like you can.